Hello, everybody. My name is Brian Fuller. I'm the CEO of Contigo Technology. We're an established IT support firm here in Austin, Texas, and we're happy with this webinar to kick off a series where we dive into CMMC and help everybody just kind of understand what CMMC is all about. It's a new regulation coming out for anybody who wants to do business in the DoD ecosystem, and that's just where it's starting. We really see this, and we hear the rumors of how it's going to effervesce out to different agencies. So I think we'll all become very familiar with it. Anybody who's kind of tuning into this now is really trying to get ahead of the game, and that's a really good thing, because you're going to need some time to ramp up depending on which level of CMMC you want to be in. But I'm happy today to introduce this webinar series, kick it off. We're an IT services company, and we have, in addition to that, we have compliancy services wrapped in our portfolio. And today I'd like to introduce JD Thompson, who is on the Contigo team. And JD has a good background in CMMC. I don't want to steal your accolades. I'm going to let him talk about his bona fides and really just set up this initial webinar is a CMMC 101. And as we go forward in the series, you're going to see us dive into different areas that we are asked to answer for a lot of our clients. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce JD Thompson and let him kind of walk through his CMMC 101 webinar. Take it away, JD.
Thank you, Brian. As you stated, my name is JD Thompson. I am a CMMC registered practitioner. That means I've gone through the training of what CMMC is, what the accreditation body is looking for. I've passed a test to prove that I am knowledgeable on the subject. And that's really how we got our game plan going forward into what is known as CMMC. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So to explain what CMMC is, I want to give a little bit of a background to it. So it stands for the Cybersecurity Maturity Model Certification. Previously was known as the DFARS Clause 242-204-7012, which is your self-assessment of NIST 800-171. And in doing so, the Department of Defense really wanted to secure the defense supply chain, or the DSC. And so in doing so, the DoD decided to audit 10 prime contractors whose contracts exceeded 1 million to see if they were doing what they were required to do by the NIST 800-171. And in that, 9 of those companies failed. So in response to that, the government created what is now known as CMMC. They know that over the last couple of years, 2019 to 2020, the U.S. has lost over $945 billion just in the Department of Defense alone to cyber hacks, cyber crimes. And so they really want to, button down the hatches on all of this. And in doing so, again, they've created what is known as the CMMC. So the CMMC is a culmination of 5 levels. The first 2 levels are going to basically hold any kind of federal contract information. This is going to be proprietary information for the government, information that's specific to the contract itself. Nothing proprietary is going to go outside of the environment of that contract and who needs that information to build or service any part of the defense industrial base. Once you get into levels 3 through 5, it kind of changes into controlled unclassified information. There's a list of, I think, about 12 categories of what CUI is. That's always being updated. It's always going to be, not limited information. There's a CUI registry. You can go in, you can check, is my company basically dealing with CUI? Most of the time, you already know if you are or not. But the moment that CUI or CUI, as people pronounce it, touches your environment, you know that you will have to achieve at least a level 3. So for the CMMC, you have 17 domains. Some of those domains, just to give you some examples, you're looking at access control, things like incident response, risk management, asset management, awareness and training, physical protection. And again, there's 17 of those, each with a list of practices that are involved with that domain. And in total, you have 171 practices with over 300 audit criteria. So in NIST 800-171 Alpha, they actually go through and show that the one control actually has a little bit more beef to it than just a blanket 1 to 2 line sentence of what it's requiring. And then also on top of that, a big change to CMMC is the third-party assessment. So whereas before you were able to do a self-assessment, it was basically a checkbox. Are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? Are you doing 110 controls of NIST? You would go through as an organization, you would say, yes, we're doing this. Yes, we're doing this. And it would be a self-scoring. Again, because the government went into those 10 primes to see, okay, are they actually doing what they have been saying they've been doing over the last couple of years, with 9 of them failing. They really wanted a process to show, okay, how can we have somebody who knows what they're looking for, comes in to do an assessment. So what they came up with was certified third-party assessing organizations. So they're going to come in, they're going to be the ones that are trained straight through the accreditation body. They're going to come in and do the assessment to give you the level that you are trying to apply for, which is a big game changer from just the self-assessment. Now you have to verify and actually prove you are doing what you have to do.
So JD, I have a question for you.
Sure.
For those looking at all the new naming conventions of CMMC, what's the difference? What's the role of a registered practitioner versus that of an assessor?
Sure, absolutely. So there's going to be 3 tiers. So the first tier, you have the CMMC accreditation body. They are the ones that will be giving out the certifications. They will not be coming on site. They will not be doing any of the assessments. The tier down from that is going to be the C3PAO, is what they're called, or the Certified Third Party Assessing Organization. They're the ones that are going to actually come in, do the assessment, make sure and verify you are doing what you're supposedly doing. Now, the gap between that is, okay, how does a company, or how do I as an organization get my organization ready for the assessment? And that's really where RPOs and RPs like myself come into play. So we really talk to our client, we get them geared into, this is exactly what's going to be asked, these are the kind of requirements that you have to meet, basically run through an entire process of getting you prepared for the certification itself. Then once you're in a comfortable suit, you feel like it's okay, we know where we're at, our RP or RPO has led us through this progressive trail to get us where we need to be. Then you reach out to the accreditation body. They'll get you in touch with the certified third-party assessing organization, or you can reach directly out to a C3PAO and say, hey, we feel like we're confident enough to know that we can pass whatever level that we want to attain. And then from there, the assessment will take place. So the CMMC model measures not only process maturity, again, one of the first M in CMMC is maturity. They want to see it over time. How are you developing? How are you building on to the foundation of cybersecurity? So it also implements practices. So the model consists of 171 practices. That's in total. Again, if you're hitting that level 5, you will have 171 practices that are mapped across the 5 levels for all capabilities and domains. From the graphic there, you can see level 1s is going to be very basic, things a company is probably already doing, or at least should be doing. Example of that, strong passwords, multi-factor authentication, antivirus, malware protection, spam filtering, things like that. That are, in all things, related. It's easier to get that into your organization. It's not super expensive. It's not super high on manpower. It's very easily done, but it's still a process to get it done. It's not just a flip a switch and we're good. So from level 1, you can move to level 2. Level 2 is when you're going to start implementing 55 more practices. So you're going to have a 72 total. You're going to start the documentation process. There's going to be a little bit more to it, more in depth. And then to level 3, you have the full NIST 800-171, all their 110 regulatory controls. You're adding on the additional 20 controls. And in level 3, you really have to show that you are mature and that you are like regularly updating, regularly following through with what you're required to do. Level 4 and 5, they're still working on. It's going to be more in depth. And just to give you a little bit of depth to that, the accreditation body has actually stated that around 60% at the end of the preliminary process, which is 2025. Every single government contract will have to have CMMC listed on it. So out of that, at the end of 2025, 60% of those contracts will be level 1. So we'll have a level 1 requirement on it. If you are not certified at least level 1, then you will not be able to bid on this contract. 30% of that will be level 3 of the total, and then 10% will be level 5. So if you're a company who's trying to decide where do I fit in this scale, most likely you're going to fall in that level 1 category. Level 5 again is only going to be a few primes. It's going to be a very small number. Out of all of the businesses that do business with the government, they're talking about maybe 150 that will have to be level 5, which is so minuscule. So I want to take a little bit of a deeper dive into what are the practices, what are the processes of CMMC. So for instance, I want to use access control. As you can see here on the left side, it'll show you the level. So I'm showing level 1 and level 2. It's going to show you the regulatory control. So for instance, the very first one, limit information system access to authorized users, processes acting on behalf of authorized users or devices, including other information systems. So from there, that doesn't give you a lot of, okay, where do I go with this? What does this exactly mean? And the accreditation body know that was an issue. And so in regards to that, they took what was the original requirement, they mapped it out to other requirements and other regulations that are already out there. And they came up with basically an assessment guide. So for instance, if we're keeping with access control 1.001, we're going to limit information systems, the access to authorized users and processes. So we can go to the guide, and they give us a little bit more of a clarification on it. So again, you're going to see what the regulatory control is at the very top. They're going to have a discussion from source so that you know that they're pulling this straight from NIST 800-171 revision 2. So access control policies control access between active entities or subjects. And you can see it'll give an entire list of what it is. And then below that, they give a CMMC clarification. So you have to control who can use the company computers, who can log onto the company network, limit the services and devices. So just because you have one control, this touches back on the very beginning when I said there's over 300 audit criteria. Just because there's one control, there's actually multiple steps to each of those controls to make it accomplished. In addition to that, each level will have a process that needs to be implemented. The first level, there is no process. You just have to have the first 17 basic controls in place. What the accreditation body is suggesting is you do have a written policy that is basically explaining what you do to accomplish all 17 of those tasks. But really when it hits hard is when you get into level 2. So you have to establish a policy that includes the domain name. So if you're doing access control, you now have an access control policy. It's well documented, and you're documenting how you accomplish those practices. So I want to be really clear here because the accreditation body has specifically stated that no government contract will be level 2 requirement. So what that means is if you are looking to do business with the federal government, you will never have a contract come in saying you are required to be level 2. The whole purpose for level 2 is to be a stepping stone to get to level 3. Now, that's not to say that if one company was level 2 and one company was level 1 and the contract that they were bidding on only required a level 1, most likely the level 2 will already be taken because it's a higher tiered level and they can prove that they are more secure than a level 1. So that it will also come into play as a means to get that contract. Level 3, now we move into the managed side of it. Again, you need to establish, maintain, and resource a plan that includes, again, access control. So now you have things like budgets, you have annual reviews, monthly reviews of certain aspects of that policy. You're showing maturity, you're showing how have we, this is where we started, this is where we're at now, and this is how we're continuing to move forward. Once you get to 4 and 5, again, these will most likely still be changed because the accreditation body is still working on 4 and 5. But for level 4, you have to review it and measure it. So you have to have some sort of measurement of this is how we're being this effective or as effective as we need to. And then 5, you're going to be optimizing, which is going to be a whole nother level that we won't touch on today. So for the CMMC timeline, the end goal is to have all of the defense supply chain to implement CMMC by 2025. Again, they are in a pilot program right now where they're only taking a few companies and saying, okay, we're going to put a contract. If there was a CMMC title to this contract, what does that look like for the entire chain? So for fiscal year 2021, we have seen some trial contracts here in Q1 that require CMMC implementation, and training has begun for certified professionals and assessors. So what that means, again, for Q2 for 2021, there's going to be a few rule changes. Again, that's going to be leaning more towards 4 and 5, but more pilot programs for trainers and trainees are beginning. Q3 and Q4 will be when most assessments are done, gearing for the start of 2022, with more contracts requiring CMMC certification. From the CMMC town hall that was a few nights ago, we learned that they are in the process of, again, in that training, the certified assessors, the people who are actually going to be coming on the physical site. They're actually going to be looking at all the documentation, all the practices, processes, to verify you are doing what you need to do. They are in training now. Hopefully by the end of June, middle of July, they will have 4 to 5 C3PAOs that have a certified assessor in place and start that assessment process. So again, I don't want you thinking that right now we need to jump all in. Let's hurry up and get level 3 if that's what you need. Let's hurry up and get level 1. Really, you have some time to do a systematic process. The government knows that this is a large task and that not everyone is going to be able just to, again, flip a switch and be ready. So they're trying to give you plenty of time to get ready, get your company ready, and really figure out what this is. And again, this is why we're doing webinars like this. So what level will my company need? This question is still being asked to the CMMC accreditation body. They weren't real clear on, okay, what does the process look like? How do I know what level I need to be? What they have given us is that the contract will include what level that is required. So we know, depending on the contract, it will say this is level 5, level 3, level 1. What we don't know is, okay, if there is a contract that has a leveled tier to it, will that level go down depending on how far down the chain you go? The accreditation body is working on that. They still want to get some more clarification out to us to let us know what that clarification is. But as far as we know, again, the real heavy requirement is if your company touches CUI or controlled unclassified information, you will, as a mandatory, be required to hit level 3. So if you go to this UI registry, it's a .gov website. You can go, it'll list everything you need to know about it. How can you know if your company will touch it? The moment that something on that registry is going to be in your environment, you know that your company needs to be level 3 certified. So again, every part of the defense industrial base will by 2025 be required to be certified. Every single contract at the end of 2025 will have a CMMC certificate requirement, which means that you will not be able to bid on it if you are not certified to the correct level. And again, they wanted to be very clear. The DoD states that most SMBs require just level 1. Again, hitting on that 60% of contracts at the end of 2025 will be level 1, 30% to level 3, and then that 10% for level 5. So how do I get started? First, really what you need to do is evaluate your company's part in the DSC and decide which certification level your company needs. Again, if you're a janitorial service, food service, lawn mowing service that works for a base or something, you're gonna only need to be level 1. Now, depending on, again, if you touch CUI, then you'll need to be level 3. That's what I would spend the majority on first, is learning, okay, what level do I need to be? Once you figure out what level you want to be or attain to, then I would suggest go learn and understand the CMMC requirements for that level. So again, you don't want to start prepping for things that's going to be way over your head. If you just need a level 1, you don't need to start doing level 2 things. Thirdly, identify gaps using a gap analysis. Let's say you have, you're trying to attain a level 1 certificate and you have to have 17 of those regulations done. You do a gap analysis that shows, okay, we are doing maybe 5 of that 17. From there, you can say, okay, we know we have 12 of these that we have to implement. From there, you can build a budget, build a time frame around it, and then hopefully set a goal for by, X amount of days, we will be ready for a level 1. And again, so that's going to be those remediate the gaps, start the documentation process. And then once you feel confident enough, you've worked with an RP or an RPO, you're ready for the assessment, then you'll reach out to a certified third-party assessing organization or reach out to the accreditation body itself, which will put you in touch with a C3PAO, and then you'll conduct the assessment and get certified. And that's
So
the
Jay,
entirety.
Yeah, I got a question for you. So, a lot of companies that are going after a level 3 certification look at this and they look at 2025. They say I have some time and know that they've got to hit this level 3 mark. What's your suggestion to simplify the process for them? Do you have any recommendations if you're going after a level 3? Do you just start putting together a whole amount of effort to hit all of those different practice requirements?
No. So the great thing about CMMC is it is a tiered approach. To hit level 3, you need to finish level 2, you need to finish level 1. It all is encompassing. Level 3, again, implements the same thing as level 1 and level 2 and goes a step further. So what we suggest as an RPO, what the CMMC accreditation body is suggesting is start with level 1, get level 1 under your belt, start with the 17 practices, start showing, okay, some documentation of just what those 17 practices are. Once you have a comfortable feeling, you feel confident that you could pass a level 1 certificate, you can get what's called a pre-assessment by a C3PAO. Well, they'll come in and basically, do a pre-assessment and say, most likely you would have passed a level 1, or here's some things that you're still, hindered on. From there, you go to level 2. Okay, now we have 53 more practices to implement. Now we have more documentation. Now we have to prove we are doing what we're saying we're doing. From there, again, once you feel confident, you can have that pre-assessment, come in, say, yes, you guys are where you say you are. And then there, go to level 3 and rinse and repeat the process. So it's not going to be a let's hurry up and do everything we need to do to get to level 3. It's a tiered approach. Start with level 1, get confident, go to level 2, get confident, move to level 3. So I do want to let you know our upcoming webinar. We're going to go over everything that is required in a level 1 certification. We're looking at March 24th as 2021 as our date for that. So be looking out for the invitation. We're going to be talking about what is required for level 1 certification, how can I prepare for the assessment, and how do I schedule an assessment. Again, my name is JD Thompson. I'm a CMC registered practitioner. Any questions you might have, please send to info@contigotx.com and we will be able to answer them there. Thanks, Brian. Back to you.
Yeah, thanks, JD. Good job of really kind of taking a look at CMMC at the 50-foot level and answering a lot of basic questions. It can be an overwhelming amount of information that companies are looking at. And I love the idea of, let's just help encourage companies to tackle level 1 first and then, inch their way forward. There's enough time to do it. The last thing you don't want to be in a position where, you've got to get a level 3 status and that assessor comes in and, it's make or break based on that one assessment. If you hit 1 and level 2 and you feel confident about it, you have some back and forth about that particular posture and you feel comfortable, by the time you get into, really trying to align with level 3, you're really, have been smart about how you went through the process and you feel much more confident about passing the assessment. It's been great. These are going to be very helpful webinars. We got a lot of questions already coming in. I tell you what, we will send out the next webinar invite here in the next week or two, and we look forward to having everybody back. And if you have any further questions, send them to info@contigotx.com. We thank everybody for joining us.
Thanks, guys.